Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the show that dissects the books deeper, harder than anywhere else on the internet. Grader'S Notes. That's right. Welcome. This is a Comic Hit 84 channel edition because I have the pick this episode. Bam, there it is. What If, number 49. What if Surfer possessed the Infinity Gauntlet? That's right. But as you know, it's not just me. We got the fearsome foursome that compiles Grader'S Notes, ready to put on a show for you guys. And let's just bring them on in. First up is my man,
Hey,
Miracle.
what's going on, everybody? So a little bit of early turnaround, special Grader'S Notes just before the big holiday season gets in there. We wanted to get it in another episode, and I think Kenny picked a fantastic pick. A little hard to find, so I got to go the digital route myself. But yeah, I'm interested to take a bite out of this issue. That's for sure.
That's right. That's right. Christmas came early this year. Grader'S Notes on a Tuesday. Next up is the man who always has the most appropriate backdrop for each episode. Whoa, what's that? The Infinity Ring.
Infinity Ring, baby.
Dang.
Made of the finest gold that Wish can manufacture. So, welcome, everybody. Glad you all can make it to maybe the most in-depth show about comics you will ever see, at least till the next one comes around.
Yeah.
Very excited about the pick, too. Oh, yeah, he's got himself a little glove, too. Almost bought the full-size gauntlet for a prize giveaway, but some other time. Yeah, I was pretty excited about this book, too. I'm a big fan. I was throwing out their famous bling now.
Give me back my glove.
But, yeah, so excited about doing this What If, and looking forward to what my co-host have to say about it as well.
Yeah, man. And last but not least.
Yep, that's right.
Last but not least, you know, we felt a bit of a void, you know. Our boy had to relocate to a new Metacave. But like we told him backstage, no matter his surroundings, the Metacave is wherever that mighty collection lies. So he's back, baby, and he's better than ever. It's Metarog.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, man. I love you guys so much, man. I have it's been like a month and a half or something because we delayed, and then Unruly took over for me because I didn't have internet, and man, I've missed you guys. It's like I've had like you know how you have like withdrawals, when you're taking a substance. It's like I've had Grader'S Notes withdrawals over here, guys. Started sweating during the last episode.
Well, your fix is here, brother. Your fix is here.
Great to be with
Say
you.
hello
guys.
to the Candyman.
It was a great move. Everything went smooth. Thanks for everybody out there with your prayers and your thoughts. I really do appreciate it. Here I am in the storage room. Doesn't matter. I love this community. I'll do this from the closet if I have to. But I'm going to be at every Grader'S Notes I can make from now on. It's very important.
Storage room of gratitude. I like it. That's a nice ring.
That's right.
It's like a good place you want your uncle to take you. But other than that, no. All right.
Yeah, that's right. Not like a chokey. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Real quick attendance and shout out for the folks who have showed up for the show. Do you have your sign handy? There it is. Oh, it's reversed.
It's reversed, but that I can help. The thought was there.
Biggie in the house. Big D-Runk.
Just read it in the mirror, Biggie. Yep.
Yeah. D-Runk's also here with us. We can't forget DK Comics and Cosplay in the house. We had a great time with her and Kachunga over the weekend.
I sure did.
And there might be a couple DK mystery boxes still available. Make sure you give them a shout.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Magic Lasso here in attendance. Metarog holding down the chat. Heroes to Icons. Good to see you. Always a stellar chat member of the show, the Jackson Roykirk. Big Bake the Snake, who hit me with a torpedo. I have a box straight from Florida here at my doorstep today.
Coming hot in from the Keys. There it is.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Now that's a place to be during winter, right there. Bake is in the right place during winter.
He's scratching his head now. Winter? What? That's not a season you learned in South Florida.
Yeah, there's maybe a couple weeks in January in the Keys, and that's it.
That's the week you turn the air conditioner off. Yep.
That's right.
What's up, Don Dizzle? Good to see you, brother. Joey in the house, 4777. Mr. Bill Magnussens joining us.
Bill. Mr. Bill.
Oh, I knew that had to happen.
Cover Slinger champion.
Funkadelic in the house, in the place to be, as is Ruban Guzman and Kachung. Oh, it's our boy Wildebeest. Well, we wouldn't.
They are cutting it up, man. Those guys are like, those guys are doing vids on everything: weightlifting, creators, variants, everything.
You know, appreciate what you have there, Will. What all four of us wouldn't give to be a ripped 13-year-old right now. You can't buy that, brother.
6-year-old. I'll take that.
I'm like the guy that ate ripped 13-year-old Dave. Yeah.
Yeah. Patrick Wall in the house. All right. Thanks for joining us, everybody.
Oh man, I tell you though, real quick, Dave, that Darth Vader tattoo is starting to bug me, man. It's like he's just staring at me with insolence, right from that shirt angle, right from underneath that sleeve. He's just looking at me, judging.
Using the Force on you.
I don't know if I ever was aware of
Mind
that.
tricks.
Get Graham off on the other side, and then I'll be completely discombobulated.
I'm off.
Put a little Peter Cushing over there on the left bicep. See what happens.
I just watched Prince of Darkness again last week. So speaking of Peter Cushing, but
in correction for the record, he's 15. Get it right.
Wow.
Okay, excuse me. This is our second What If comic on the show. Is that right?
it is.
Yeah.
We did What If number 1, didn't we, previously?
Yeah, that was from the first series, I think.
Yeah, volume 1, right?
Yeah.
Yep, and we've had some fun with that. So What If has made a comeback and is becoming relevant in the mainstream space with, Disney putting out a show and stuff. So good. I'm glad to see What If get some love in the modern age for a new audience, right?
It should have had longer runs than it did.
114 issues on the second series and 47 on the first.
Mm.
It's one of my favorite concepts that Marvel ever did, actually. I just love it.
Me too.
Yeah. We gave it a really high concept mark last time around, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Will that?
But I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean it'll hold up, right? Because
That's right.
there's a whole bunch of what ifs, and there's just a whole bunch of what ifs that would be really cool that we've all talked about with our buddies. What if, the Punisher had Thor's hammer, or what if this happened, or what if that? So, to see what these guys pick, it might not be the most cool one.
I know. What do we get with Marvel's greatest minds on the book? Sue Storm playing Hide the Tuna with Namor, man. I don't know.
Yeah, and that's a good point for concept, because on the it was the number 1 issue, so I think we kind of graded concept on the initial idea, but we're 50 issues in, so I think we're going to be considering what question they pose, what scenario they pose this time around. So let's just get right to it. When do you guys want to summarize real quick the lowdown here before we get into the first category?
Who wants it? You know me, I'll just start rambling on.
Yeah, go for it, Gino.
Okay, today we're going to be grading this book on 4 concepts. Those of you who've been on the chat before know what's going on, but real quick rejoinder. We're going to have the cover art. We're going to grade it basically, I don't know if we like it or not. Same with the interior art. Then we're going to go on to this actual nuts and bolts, the story of the book. And then finally, the most ephemeral of all subjects, the concept, overall concept of the book. Was it something new and innovative? Was it just a cash grab? What was this book exactly? And then we're going to finish up with a overall grade. And then we will also announce our next book in 2 weeks' time. So stay tuned to the end of the show.
Well done, well done.
Absolutely. Well done.
Good job.
And I figure while you have those pipes warmed up, Gino, why don't you just take the floor with our first category,
Okay.
which is the cover. Would you like a digital assister here?
That'll work. Quick addendum. I am the only guy without the hard copy this week, but thanks to Jackson Roycork, I actually won the bid. It just didn't get here in time, so I ordered it, didn't get it. It is what it is. All right, so here we go. What if number? Let me get this pulled up over here too, so I know I'm looking at here. And all right, so we have Scott Clark imitating Ron Lim to the best of his ability, and it's kind of hit or miss, but it mostly hits. I absolutely love the way the reflections of the Infinity Stones are cutting the swath through the entire cover. It looks great. It partitions it well, and it makes for a nice segue where Thanos' head is right below Silver Surfer's body and all that. I like it, and it also has a subtle hint of saying now Silver Surfer's above Thanos. He's stronger than Thanos because of the glove and all that. Just really nifty. The board looks like it's maybe strapped to his back, like a la Hawkeye. I'm not sure about that, or maybe even Night Thrasher. So that's kind of cool. The silhouettes in the back aren't too bad. I like what he did with the Mephisto too. I think it's purposeful. It's like he's kind of just barely there, so it kind of speaks to like the looming presence he was in the original book. That's kind of cool. And of course, there's Warlock looking thoughtful and Cap looking. I don't know what he's looking like there, but so it's an interesting concept. It's a little bit busy. To be honest, though, I wouldn't mind just having like a disembodied Thanos head around there in the background too, like the other guys, instead of just like making up his legs, whatever that's supposed to be. So that's okay. He's definitely channeling Lim's like organic look, because Lim always drew Silver Surfer very organic looking. One problem I do have with it, and it's actually all throughout this book, is the jaw lines are all exactly the same on every character. So he's got this perfectly like V tapered jawline, and it's kind of heroic looking, but a little too pointy. And I don't know. It's interesting. It's recycled a lot. I don't know if I like it too much on the Surfer, and his neck's a little bit large. But I guess you need a large neck to keep your head from flying off at light speed. But whatever the case may be, it's interesting. The trade dress is a little bit small back there, to be honest with you. But I like how they dressed it up with the Infinity Stones, and they used kind of the same fonts and all that from the original. And of course, you got Death and all that sitting back there. So it's interesting. I think this is definitely better than average. I'm not saying that it wows me, but I really like what they're going with. And I do like I said, my favorite part is probably the gemstones gleaming all over the cover, even slashing right through the trade dress up top. So I'm going to give this a 3.5. There's a lot of little nitpicks with it, but for overall, I think it's kind of a pleasing concept, if not a little busy.
All right. A fine assessment by Gino.
Absolutely.
Landing on 3.5.
And by the way, thank you, Jackson Roycork, for helping me nab that book. He was watching it because I was actually streaming at the time, and he was letting me know the time checks to go back there and bid on it. So thanks to him, I actually won the copy. So
what a community, man! They even
I know, right?
Grader'S notes grabs. I tell you,
for sure, he was going to outbid me too. But I had faith in my fellow man, and it was paid tenfold. Repaid tenfold.
Welcome, Super Russ. Good to see you.
Yeah, hey Russ.
As we continue clockwise through the panel, the gentleman with the original copy. Who else but Roger?
Oh, boy. I was like, well, from my perspective, it's counterclockwise. Well, whatever. Yeah, thanks, Kenny. Yeah, no secret, right? I'm a huge fan of the Infinity Gauntlet series, the original, the Crusade, and of course when I said the original, I'm talking about the one where Warlock came out of the Soul Gem and turned him to stone in Marvel 2-in-1 Annual 2, I want to say. So anyway, so this cover, Genome, I think, parallels my thoughts to a good degree. I think I like the segmentation here. It's very George Perez-esque, kind of a little tribute. He loves to do these kind of covers where you have almost like concentric vignettes here. And of course, instead of Thanos, which would be the more dominant figure in the Infinity Gauntlet, we have the Silver Surfer because this is a what if and a reimagining of that story with obviously a break or a fork in the plot. The only thing I don't like about it, I do like that, you know, he has all the characters here, including the more sensitive and easygoing Death here versus the more crueler one. And of course, you have Shah LaBeouf over here. You know, all the characters which if you read the Infinity Gauntlet and you saw this, you're like, how is this going to be going, right? Captain America doesn't have a really big role here. Warlock does, absolutely does. So I think conceptually the cover is good. Thanos is here in a very, you know, angry and very obviously upset kind of way, which, you know, obviously anything that if he doesn't have the gauntlet, he's going to be not in good physical, not in good mental state, shall we say. I think the Surfer's a little overdone musculature wise. It's just a little bit too like ripped up. There's no reason for him to be that like that, really. I don't read the way Buscema used to draw him with a more sleeker look. I think is a more realistic like. He's a cosmic being. He doesn't have to be working out, you know, to impress the ladies or anything. So I think that's a little overdone, too Image comic like for me. Like Genome says, I wish this trade dress was a little bigger, but you know, there's a lot there. What if Silver Surfer possessed the Infinity Gauntlet with the little infinity symbol? And you have, you know, the Watcher over here, which is the narrator or the instigator of these what if possibilities. So I like that little aspect. Yeah, you're right about the face. It's very everybody's got this little like V down here, and that's a little bit odd. But you know, that's neither here nor there. The concept I think is really well done. The characters are all there, kind of in a place where you have to sort of your mind goes to the possibilities of what this comic is, and to me, that's an effective cover. The musculature overdone, and this is a little bit hidden here, and Thanos is a little bit too much here. But again, you know, he was the antagonist, I'm sorry, in the Infinity Gauntlet, so that makes sense. I like the little touches, but you know, this Silver Surfer is just way too overdone for me. Something a little bit. I know he's supposed to be more godlike in here, but this is more like just for Image kind of 90s stuff, which is not even coming yet. I agree with Genome, though, on the grade, right down the middle, 3.5, very effective cover, conceptual-wise. Just the overdone Silver Surfer and a little bit too much Image stuff in here, but otherwise, very well done.
All right. Bit of a consensus there between Roger and David Genome. Very nice.
Two men of excellent taste, obviously, on board here.
At least for now.
Yeah. So allow me to bust out my True Believer. So we won't really account for the True Believer tag on here, you know. So, man, the stuff that this cover is doing a lot of cool stuff with symmetry, right? Which I really like. As far as the super buff Silver Surfer goes, I'm digging it. I like it. He looks great to me. You know, as far as why he's extra buff, I'll just chalk it up to, you know, he's rocking the Infinity Gauntlet. He's juiced up, man. It just looks aesthetically pretty cool. So I'm into his look, right? And I really love the, like, as far as that symmetry goes, the straight lines, the X that's created off of the gems. That looks so cool to me. The rainbow colored effect you get from that is awesome. And the board being on his back, kind of crossing the other way, just keeps that symmetry going. So I like that. You don't really see Surfer wear like the surfboard on his back like that, but it does look cool. The head profiles on this center part, I like one side and I don't like the other side. I think Warlock and Mephisto with I like the shadowing that's done on their faces. I think that looks really well. But it's like it makes Cap look really kind of lame and not powerful in contrast, because Cap's head is much smaller than Warlock's is. Like, if we're going to keep the symmetry going, then you make Warlock and Captain America's head the same size. They make Captain America's head smaller, and he has 0 shadow on his face, which just makes him look less dramatic, less interesting in comparison to these two guys. He should have kept the symmetry motif going and really kind of handled Cap in size and shadow the same way that he did Warlock, I think. And the Shala Ball thing just looks kind of goofy to me. If you're going to go with the head profiles, to just put a full-bodied, glowing Shala Ball there, you kind of looks like there's like a sticker stuck to the cover there. It just really stands out of place. Now, I'm torn on in the trade dress. Cool. I love how they used like the original Silver Surfer comic trade and the original Gauntlet trade and mashed them up. Awesome. Cool. Could it have been a little bigger? I tend to think so too. Here's what kills me. Here's where the symmetry. Maybe I can't have it both ways, because I feel like when you're gonna do a funky cover like this, you're establishing rules, right? So the rule he's setting on the bottom here is this line that goes across, that starts a new image of the Thanos head. And you get, I could see like a little arm overlap from Surfer. But then at the top, that rule doesn't remain, and like you just get a continuation of the picture. And it makes the Thanos head look really weird to me. Like, it's drawn well, it's cool, but the fact that it just starts at that line like that, it just looks strange. It looks kind of clumsy. And if at this top line, he followed that same rule and started like a new image, it would have made that look a little more pleasing to the eye. But since he didn't do that up here, it's like it makes that stand out strange to me. I guess you would have had to cut off the board and lose the X thing that you're going for, but I would have sacrificed the board on the back to make me not go crazy about that cutoff thing that happened. So, might be a little nitpicky, but, you know, if you're going to set some rules on a cover, brother, you better stick to them, man. I really like it overall. I'm a big Silver Surfer fan. I think it's dynamic. It's interesting. It's really cool. I went a little notch above these gentlemen, and I gave it a nice, strong 4.
Nice.
And now, my man, Miracle. What say you, man? Hey, Lady F. Oh, and I think our friend is on mute at the moment.
Sorry, somebody was using a slower out there, so I muted it. Cover. So this is obviously, you know, a homage or a swipe from Infinity Gauntlet #1, right? Which is like George Perez cover. So like a lot of the stuff you're mentioning, like the gems making that X stuff and all that, and the different heads on either side and stuff, that's all Perez. That's his layout, right? He's just getting copied here onto this guy. I do like the muscly Silver Surfer. I do think that like the Surfer should, you know, be muscly, not just like super wiry, thin guy, but like be full of power cosmic, right? Be muscly a little bit. I mean, not the Hulk, obviously, but muscly. Oh, what's the guy that
Scott
did
Clark,
this
I
one?
think.
Scott Clark, right? So there's lots of good things about this cover. He's like his anatomy's on point. The faces are well done. I like the little like background characters. It definitely gives you that like if he's obviously trying to swipe that cover and it shows, right? Like he's done the job that he's trying to swipe. Like instead of Thanos having it, what happens if Surfer has it and that cover changes, right? So what if stories happen, but they happen in a different Earth, right? Not Earth 616, which is what Marvel Universe, the main comic, always are in 616. What if different universes can happen in all kinds of different dimensions or different realms, as the Watcher likes to call it? I think it's good. I like the cover. Like you said, he's obviously trying to do swipe, and he did a good job of it. I like the muscly one. Everybody's in perspective, in pose. Really nice. I like the way that like he's obviously not a Mike Sack or a Perez himself. But he's a very competent artist already, from what I can see. Right? Like he's not trash. He's not. We'll talk about the interior stuff or whatever, but I like the cover. I like Scott's art here. I gave it a 3.5 too. Drew me in. It homaged the cover, and I recognized that right away. It's a little bit off mark. So like if this was a fresh cover that he had done all on his own, I'd given this thing top marks, right? But because it's a cover swipe, so Perez did a lot of the work for him, doing the layouts and some of the effects and stuff like that look cool. So 3.5, good cover, drew me in, definitely. And especially if you were a fan of the Infinity Gauntlet series and you saw this on the shelf, boom, you're gonna pick that up because you're like, oh yeah, I remember that part, right? And what if Silver Surfer did grab it? So I think it's effective. I think it's well done. I think it's rendered well. I like that they used a lot of treatments in there, like boom, boom, boom. I think What If needs to be a little more explainy before you get started, so that you're not thinking this is happening in Marvel continuity. So that treatment helps with that a lot. I like it. 3.5.
Hey, we were all right there. I mean,
right there. Almost a 3.5 sweep.
Yeah.
What was your grade, Kenny? I'm sorry, I missed that part.
It was a 4.0.
4.0. I thought Kenny was like the most critical of all of them.
I know, right?
Yeah, I know.
I mean, I was like, oh man, I can't believe Kenny's doing this.
Now it's your turn, chat. What say you on the cover of this book? I'm going to go ahead and pop a little prompt here. Grade this cover.
There you go.
Cool. While we're waiting to tabulate the grades, I put together a visual aid of what I thought when I first saw this cover. I had to use one of my wife's little figurines there, but it's a Hulk. I shouldn't have picked the Hulk. But basically, it looked like a mug with the Silver Surfer coming out the top.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah. And standing in with a Dalek there. But
yeah, with a little hand coming out of the side. Yeah, very right.
It was weird too, because it looked kind of like Cap was growing out of Surfer's shoulder too, the way it's kind of set up.
Yeah.
So.
And the scale is 1 through 5, Lady Fantastic, including in 0.5s are allowed along the way, but 5 is perfect, awesome, fantastic, and 0.5 being the lowest.
Well, 0 is the lowest, right? You can give it a 0.
Can we give it a 0?
You could.
0 is not really a number.
I mean, theoretically, you could. I mean, it'd have to be, better than air, but
0 is a number.
Yeah,
0 is the absence of numbers, actually.
Right. It's a number, but it's not a quantity.
It's not a quantity.
Is it a quantity? I don't know. No,
it's not. It's
not a quantity.
An absence of quantity.
It's like heat is the absence of cold.
These are the deep questions you get on Grader'S Notes.
That's right. When people say on how they have the 0 on the cover, they say number 0. Technically, it's incorrect because you have to have some kind of quantity before you can have a number. So if it's a 0, it's the absence, it's the null, it's the void of number. But that's a philosophical discussion that we can have some other time here. But
Sounds like a Jim Shooter question. If I ever actually get to interview him, I'll ask him.
yeah.
He'd probably slap me if I even mentioned asking for a zero copy. He's like, "What kind of idiocy is that? Get out of here. Let's sell some comics."
But if you're using it in an equation, then it becomes a let's say it's not a number, but it's an expression, right? So if you put 6 times 0, then at that point it's not a null; it is the placeholder of nothing. So there's just like minute distinctions there. I'm not a mathematician, so maybe a mathematician can play it better than I can. But.
It's been a long time since college algebra. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
I've expunged it all from my memory.
So how do you guys feel about the cover of this book, other than?
It's funny. I think we all like knew that it was an homage to the Perez, but it was funny that it took it wasn't until the last guy, Miracle, who acknowledged it. I'm like, oh yeah, I can't believe none of us mentioned that.
Oh, I think I did mention.
Did you mention it?
Yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned it. I mentioned it too.
Yeah.
And in fact, Jackson Roykirk said, "Well, there's not enough characters on there for it to be a Perez homage." Little joke there.
That's kind of funny.
Boy, that's a lot of grades in there.
Yeah, we have 11 so far, so
Nice.
get him in there. Last chance saloon.
Yeah, Russ said he liked the art, but not the layout. Didn't care for the layout. It is busy, like Genome's kind of point.
But Lady Fantastic is asking, when did the first 0 issues? Well, I know that
Dark Horse had him, but
DC, when they had 0 Hour, that was in the early 90s, I want to say.
I know Wizard loved those zeros and half issues.
Yeah, that's right. Wizards had the inserts. Yeah, that's right. There were zeros. That's right, in halves. So probably we're talking late 80s, early 90s, somewhere in there.
yeah, the first Aliens vs. Predator book is actually a 0 issue.
What? And that's early 90s, right?
Yeah, I say 91, I believe. Around
Yeah,
so.
yeah, that's somewhere in there. Yeah, I don't recall any in the Bronze Age that at all.
No. They didn't play shenanigans like that. Of course, every run was 300 issues anyway. So
you had one shots; they would just have one number 1 on them.
Yeah.
But I don't recall. I think that the first one I remember is like either early 90s or very late 80s.
The gimmick hadn't occurred to them yet in the 80s.
I guess not. Yeah, guess not. All right, you guys got the grades down there, Genome? You calculating?
and the tabulation says 3.636. So that's going to bring us down to 3.5. My goodness.
Oh, the chat.
Wow.
Okay.
That's an actual number too. Amazing.
Man. I mean, I tell you.
Let's throw an exponent in there somewhere. Let's make this really interesting. Hold on. Okay.
Very nice. Well done, everybody. Why don't we stay on the art train here? This is an instance where, considered a throwback nowadays, where the artist on the cover is the same guy that's on the inside. Who would have thunk it?
They can't be bothered for that nowadays.
Yeah.
They're making their $50 on the cover. They can't be expected to do any more than that.
So let's see how this guy holds up on his own 2 feet. Right here, he had, like you guys point out, a little bit of an assist from Perez because he was doing the homage. How does he do on his own 2 feet? And we're going to tee up our friend Metarock with his thoughts.
All right. What if is interesting in that at this juncture, there were a lot of tryout artists or lesser known artists that took over the art chores because Marvel was very popular and the regular artists were very busy. And this came out, kind of intermittently sometimes. I think bi-monthly, if I remember correctly. So I'm not familiar with this gentleman's work at all, other than pretty much this issue. And I think that he has talent for sure. As a storyteller, I mean, what ifs are odd kind of creations because I'm constantly referring back to the original material, and that's kind of not fair to him. because we had George Perez and then Ron Lim on the original Infinity Gauntlet, which is, you know, it's like two Hall of Famers are close to them, right? But I think that he's an effective storytelling artist. Let's put it that way. Splash page, you get this, you know, huge scene with, again, Watcher being the kind of the linchpin or the nexus to bring this story to light. As Miracle was saying, this is an alternate reality. But you have the platform over here, you know, and kind of an isometric view. And then you have, it's sort of gives you an idea, if you didn't read the whole Infinity Gauntlet, what's going on. And you have a lot of the players here, a lot of the players that were involved in the actual story, including, you know, Hulk, you know, most of the heroes were. And I like the way he did the Watcher here. It's kind of thin, and kind of the head kind of a little bit reddish, sort of sticks out here as he is the narrator. And we have to kind of keep that in mind. His figures are pretty good. I have a couple of nitpicks. I don't like the way he draws the Infinity Gauntlet. It's kind of a little too thin. Sorry. It's a little too thin and scrawny for me, and gangly kind of. It reminds me kind of like theater gloves, you know? I mean, the gauntlet should be a gauntlet. It should be huge. It should be apparent. It should be rough. It should be very, very thick and cumbersome a little bit. It's holding 6 gems. All right. I mean, how many, if you have a wife or something and they have earrings, you know, those little gems they wear, those things are bulky. I mean, they pull on the earlobes and all that. He does a lot of bigger panels, a lot of majestic bigger panels like this, where characters are either, you know, pontificating or they're expressing themselves and sort of preaching or whatever. I like it. I mean, for a book like this, for a comic like this, I think that's further appropriate. Here's just a kind of Marvel value stamp page here with all the characters that are being brought back. They're a little bit ill-defined to me. Drax's head looks, you know, like kind of like Beetlejuice when he was sitting in that room waiting for his turn. It's very small. The proportions are a little bit off. There's so many characters to draw on here, though. I mean, cosmic characters and a lot of, you know, spacescapes, etc. But I think he does a pretty good job of sort of juggling them in the appropriate positions. His expressions are a little bit maybe exaggerated, and I really do not like the expression of the Surfer there. The Surfer sometimes looks almost like he's got like an exoskeleton, and you can see the interior of him. It's a little bit odd. I mean, you know, I'm kind of judging him on Buscema, Silver Surfer, which I love, which I think is the quintessential one. But honestly, he does a pretty good job of getting the storytelling done. Again, a lot of kind of like dynamic poses, which would sort of appropriate for the godlike aura that you want to portray the Surfer. A pretty good looking Mephisto there, kind of evil and kind of underhanded, scrawny, and just malevolent in the flesh. I'm not gonna go eat too much of the meat off of this bone here, but it's an effective art. Is it great? No. I mean, there are some issues again with the face, or they're very, very, very sharp corners. The backgrounds are sometimes not there at all, which some are appropriate, some are not. I'll let my cohorts talk about that a little bit. Right there, it's a little bit too dark. I think that's on purpose. The inking can be overdone here and there. But I think it's an effective artist as far as the storytelling elements and as far as the proportions. I think they're okay. Nothing spectacular, but definitely not George Perez, not Ron Lim, but good enough, I think, for a what if. One of the better artists for fill-in or not, you know, not really frontline artists. I gave it a 3. I think it was much better than average, almost a 3.5, in fact.
All right. Well said. Well said. Delivered as usual.
Mhm.
Now, I guess let's kick to me. The inside art of this book. So let me give it let me give it some praise first, and then I'm going to point out to me the mortal flaw of this of the artist in this book. So he really shines in moments like this, when he gets a chance to just do a nice big character standing showcase. He can really deliver. That's an awesome image. And one thing that's cool about the Silver Surfer is like he really, if you don't have your anatomy down right, you're going to be exposed when you draw on the Silver Surfer because there's no costume to hide behind. He's like the quintessential, when you practice figure drawing, you got to represent every muscle, everything, no hair, no nothing. So he delivers on a page like that. And overall, his renditions of the other characters, none of them really stuck out to me as like a poor job. I do see what Roger's saying about the kind of shrunken head on Drax. That one's a little weak, but like I like the Hulk that he did. His vision looks a lot like a surfer, but that's kind of to be expected. So pretty cool there. I like his surfer. His surfer is pretty cool. I like all the detail that he puts into that. There's moments where there's not as much detail like that Galactus. I would think there's moments where there's heavy inking and moments where it's a little light, like that Galactus could use a little more rendering, maybe some ink just to fill that out. Looks a little cheesy there, if you ask me. He has a good handle on drawing women. I think he really nails it on that. There's an image influence here. I think like the line, the cross hatching for the shading lines makes me think of like that image style. That that's a great panel. That's a great Mephisto panel, Okay, let me just show let's see, when you get Shalabal in the mix. Like I said, I really think that he does a good job on the female form and all that good stuff. This page was a little weird. The heavy shadows looks like she's like, she's going to like, looks like the dude from The Cure or something like that. Looks a little too emo and shadowy there. Now, where this dude falls short, man, is this whole book is just flat angles the whole way through. Even this is in his pages like this that make you appreciate the great John Buscema, and even Kirby had a pretty good handle on it. Of this guy can't help but do just a flat angle. Like you'll never see a guy like Buscema have Surfer riding the board like that, especially on the first page. You're bringing him in. It just looks like he's just jumping, Cowabunga style, and you just stuck a board in there behind him real quick. When you had the chance to, I know you can't compare everyone to Buscema, but we're talking Surfer. So I just think back to all the cool poses and stuff that guys like him played with when they did the Surfer. And what I mean by flat is like every scene, every situation, it's pretty much always just a straight on like camera angle, and everyone is standing on the same level. So there's really not many cases where there's any interesting, like, look, this is all a straight on pose. You're looking straight on. Like there's not a lot of creativity with dynamic angles. It's just characters sitting on the same plane the whole time. Like they arrive at Doctor Strange's place, and it's like, boom, they plop up on the left side of the page, Stranger's on the right side of the page, flat. They're on the same plane every time. Then you'll do a little close up here and there, but in the one time that he does mess with the perspective and gives us a little dynamic angle, I think he drops the ball. With this big surfer and the camera angle is pointing down, he's not casting any kind of shadow. I don't think the perspective looks quite right. Like, even though he's drawn really big like that, I don't get the sense that he's actually standing next to them that large. Just this guy's just used to drawing everyone on the same plane, so it's like, I don't think he has a good handle on depth. Is the bummer here. But overall, I think it's pretty well drawn. I think the guy has his limitations, and I think he has his strong suits. Moments like that is a strong suit. Shalabal's face there. A pretty good outing. He's not I wouldn't call him top tier, but when he's in the pocket at what he's good at, he delivers just fine. I dig it. But with some missteps. And I was with Metarog in giving this baby a 3 on the inside.
Nice. Yeah, good points there about the same plane. Yeah,
isn't it? Yeah, the whole time.
Yeah, good point. I said a lot of posing. I guess that's you took it to another level. Yeah.
Let's see what
like
miracle
Plato's ideal plane, right? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, let's go on to the miracle plane of existence here.
You gonna do the screen share thing for me there, Ken?
Hint: the plane is smeared with syrup and Molson. All right.
Syrup and Molson. Oh, who would like syrup and Molson?
Why don't I do this so I can get a really good view of it? All right, let's cruise through.
Right, so lots of man, you stole my thunder when you were talking about the flat angles on everything, right? A lot of this stuff, like, look at this Silver Surfer here. He's trying to make him dynamic. He's trying to pull, the surfer pose that we always see those guys riding the big wave with. He's trying to get in there with that kind of deal. I get it. It kind of looks that way, but it kind of does not. Right? Like, why all those big flashy lines in there? Just flatten the whole thing out. Like, give me a space scene. Give me Surfer traveling through space, not a bunch of weird lights in the background. I don't like that. A lot of the stuff, you want to scroll up a little bit. Bud? Yeah, there we go. Like, a lot of this background stuff, all this temple stuff and everything, that's all Perez. That's all ripped off of Infinity Gauntlet.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these characters that you see, like, sitting there beside the Watcher. Yeah, keep going, Kenny. Right, like, you can see here in this panel, they look like, I don't know, Art Balthazar drawings. Like, they look flat. Like, they're like little kid drawings, right? Like, I'm not saying there's anything bad about Art Balthazar. Yeah, but he has a very unique style that he incorporates to a very unique book, and that's not what this guy's trying to do. Tries to get, and then other panels, he's trying to get really overdone with the all the details, right? He's going way too far. All of a sudden, Surfer's got tons of striations all over his body and every muscle and everything. Like this panel here with him standing the first time he puts the gauntlet on. I like that panel. It kind of needs to be flat, right? You kind of need to be brought up close to the Surfer and realize this power. But it's just like, oh man, what? Like, how many stomach muscles does he have? Probably like 12 abs on that one. And then he goes back to this lack of details, right? When he gets into these smaller ones, lacks details. Everything is, again, pushed up, flat, right? I see no depth in any of this. That whole panel kind of reminds me, I haven't read the Infinity Gauntlet #1 for a long, long time. I'm not even sure if that's a panel from the actual comic book or more of that. But yeah, a lot of this stuff is weird, man. This Galactus, like, inconsistent, right? Like, if you look at the other Galactuses beforehand, they don't look the same as this guy here. Same with the Surfer. He's constantly changing as well. There's a lot of inconsistency in how he renders people. Thanos looks different in different panels. The shape of Surfer's face changes a lot, right? He goes from this kind of square-faced here in a lot of panels. All of a sudden, he'll have a much more roundish face. That one that you were saying, like it was hard to notice how big he was. All of a sudden, you look, his face is much more rounder in that panel. So there's a lot of inconsistency. Good points. He's good on anatomy. Like he's got the anatomy going on. Everybody's in proper perspective. They're all the right size to one another, and their arms aren't gangly or weird. I'm not a big fan of this Mephisto. A little bit, I guess, a little bit too much forehead on that guy. I think like he's got head pats. No, like it's just. I don't know. Not a big fan of the Mephisto. Yeah, we can keep going on and on like this, but overall, he does get it across. I found it a little clunky, a little flat, a little inconsistent in some places. He's got some weird stuff. Like, is that Silver Surfer one there supposed to be like? See how much rounder his face all of a sudden gets in this panel. Whereas before it kind of had this weird tapery, more square tapery to it, and then Thanos looks different, and now Adam Warlock's looks different than he has in other panels in this panel as well. It's almost like a different person drew this panel. Like he must have come back after lunch and just been ready to go and just draw it a little different or something. So given that, it's not terrible. Like I said, look, these are great. This is not a bad panel. Like the two of them together, they look really good together. It can be kind of flat because they should be surrounded by energy, right? So I want to see that kind of deal. But it's a good panel. It's not great. It's not knocking my socks off. I haven't seen any big splash pages that have really wowed me at all throughout this book. That's, I expect at least one good splash page, especially when you're dealing with big cosmic books like this, right? But really, they just don't happen, and there's a lot of really flat close-ups. So that all being said, I went serviceable and gave the interior a 2.5. Okay, it's not going to knock your socks off, but it's also, it's not so poor that it's distracting you from the story or anything like that. Right? Like you're following along, and yeah, it's there, but it's not distracting. Like I'm not like, oh, this fucking. It's not like Keith's art where you're distracted by how poorly it's done, right? Oh, had to get that dig in there. I know what. Okay. So yeah, 2.5.
2.5. All right. Calls it like he sees it there. As does the other David on the panel, Mr. Genome Presents. Would you like me to queue up a similar?
Sure.
Digital?
And if you'd be so kind, just throw it to page 6, I think it is.
Okay.
Basically, him showing off of the gauntlet for the first time. I just got a few pages I'll select, but I won't beat a dead horse. A little further down. Let's get him all in frame there. There we go. Perfect. Okay, let's leave it right there for now. All right. So this book is a measure of extremes, man. There's some things I really like and some things I detest. First off, I bet, and I'm not even joking here, I bet this guy used to draw anatomy books or something. This looks like his forte because even like in some of the more blurry shots, like he goes out of his way to make proportional musculature everywhere. It's pretty crazy, like how round he will actually make the legs. Like look at the quads on this. He's got separate all the little sinews and everything on the quads are there. The kneecaps have their own perfect rondure right there. But I really like Silver Surfer's hand. His right hand in this looks very good. And it's got kind of the Michelangelo, kind of look to it. Amazing. His delts look good. It goes right into the chest right. Everything connects nice to the neck. So, yeah, it's like an anatomy session. And if we go to page 9, I think it is. Sorry, I'm having to click along with you here. Give me 1 second. Okay, we're right there. Let me get a copy with you so I can see a little better. Oh, actually, next page. One more page in. Okay, right there. If you look down here at the bottom right panel with Thanos there, and you see his tricep, I mean, that is a lot of extra detail that most artists would not bother with. That's how a muscular tricep will look. It's kind of split looking like that. And he seems to draw Thanos pretty well, actually, other than some issues of putting his head in the right spot. If you look at the panel right next to him, the way his arm is bent is how the actual muscle looks when you do that. It's kind of like the, I forget what it's called, like the reverse crab pose, whatever. But anyway, so long story short, the guy is really good with anatomy. And, but man, most everything else is not so hot. And if you look at this Thanos panel right there above it, right above same page right there, like his head looks good, but his hand looks awful. I can't figure out what's going on. Are his fingers bent or are they just stubs? What's going on with them? So he has a little bit of problem with perspective. I think that's why he has so many flat angles. If you go to the previous page, go back a little ways when Silver's, when he's got like the Galactus behind him. Yeah, right up there. What is that, man? What is that? That's like Archie Bunker meets Galactus, man. I cannot stand the way he draws Galactus in this. He looks like he rides a short bus in the panel right below it, too. He's got that little with his face going on. I don't understand it. Why? Why would you do that with such an epic character? Everyone else looks all right. It's just that, Miracle's right. It's just not too consistent. Sometimes Server's face is a little rounder, and sometimes it's got these huge, sharp angles like it does here. You can see right here. It's like he got tired as he got further into the book and just kind of got wore out. But there's nothing really bad. I agree with Roger, though. No one's mentioned it. What's with the freaking isotoner glove Infinity Gauntlet? That thing is like all floppy as it gets off of there and just like it falls to the ground like an apology. It's awful. So there's nothing too inherently wrong with the art in here, but it's definitely workmanlike, except for the extra details that the artist put into the anatomy. So yeah, look at that. Put in the glove. I know what he's trying to do with that there, but the glove is mostly a solid object. It may change sides, but that looks like a failed condom experiment.
Yeah, like he's about to wash dishes.
Yeah, I know. Dishpan and hands, they got you down again. Well, try Dorinex. But so I just think workman when I see this book. It's nothing egregious, and it doesn't detract from the enjoyment of the book whatsoever, really. But there's some lazy panels here and there. There's a lot of star scenes, which is to be expected. But Mephisto looks suitably craven, but I didn't like his head. So I don't know. Dr. Strange looks pretty good right there. The panel right there, and the crackhead look that he gave Silver Surfer's old lady there was pretty lame. Like all that shadow they did on her face when she looked so good in the couple panels before that. So makes no sense sometimes. So it's just right there. It's a game of extreme. She looks like what was Winona Ryder's character in Beetlejuice? That's who she looks like.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep.
So look how good she looks.
Reference here.
Was it? Yeah, 2 panels down, she looks awesome right there. So it's like I don't know, but whatever the case may be, I'm with Dave. 2.5 right down the middle. It's got just as much good, maybe a little better actually good than bad, but you can't ignore some of the limitations. So 2.5.
All right.
Freaking Biggie and Flavor Fantastic over here having full-on dialogues here about Silver Surfer's dong.
Yeah, Silver Surfer is like akin to a Ken doll,
Yeah, he's not a eunuch, but
Hey, Lydia was the character.
Lydia, I couldn't remember. I haven't seen it in so long. I too am strange and whatever.
Okay, now.
Yeah.
Chat, you have now been prompted to grade this art. What say you guys on the inside artwork of this book? We've got a 2.5. We got a couple 2.5s in the mix, right? And a couple 3s. Is that how it shook out?
Yep, that's right.
Yep, 2 of each.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has problems for sure, but I think that when you consider the type of story this is, and you're right. The face sometimes changes here and there, and certainly that one where he's towering above, that was not well done. But I think the relationship between the art and the story was pretty well done, except for the few like that one where Shallow Ball. That's inexplicably, it looks like somebody just dropped the ball on that panel totally.
Yeah.
Maybe they spilled their ink on it. They had to freaking get rid of all of it or
Yeah.
something. I don't know.
I mean, and that Galactus, which is kind of almost like ethereal, cartoon-like, but
He looks like he's retaining water, man. Galactus does.
right. But but
No,
some
he
of
is
the
that
really
guy.
dynamic poses that he does, it drew me in. It really did. I was like, wow, that's like you said. His anatomy is so good that I guess it kind of bamboozled me a little bit. But I just thought his stuff was, considering he's not a frontline artist, I thought that he did a pretty good job on this.
Fair enough. Right? It's not bad. It's not.
No.
Like I said, I didn't open it up and be like, "Ugh, what the hell did Kenny pick?" Right? Like I wasn't knocking. I did knock my socks off. In other words, right? I wasn't like wowed by it in any way. I was like,
Right.
yeah, it's another issue.
It shows like the type of artist that what it strikes me as is like say you were gonna task me with drawing a comic, like, and right now the kind of guy I am is you draw like a cool character on a piece of paper, like one character, a cool like commission style portrait of a character. But then when you task them to do with a real artistry of comic books come in and direct the play, and do storytelling with the panels, that's what separates the men from the boys. And you can tell this guy probably has a killer notebook of drawings, So when you have him construct the story, it's like, wait a minute, I didn't do all this in my notebook. I only drew badass muscle guys. Wait a minute.
and some babes here and there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like we either have conspiracy or some kind of real synchronicity.
Mm-hmm.
Because it looks like twos right down the line.
I can't tabulate that, guys. You're gonna have to help me out. I need some
Where
other
did
grades.
this book fall in the era of Image? Because I feel like there's a lot of Image influence here, but would this have come out a little before, like the Image launch?
What year is it?
I thought it was 80.
93.
Oh, okay.
Oh, Image was what, 92 or 93?
So yeah, Image would be out. Yeah, Image was out around then. Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah.
I guess Marvel had lost all their
They lost all their A-listers, but they didn't usually put the A-listers on What If anyway either. So
yeah, not usually.
Man,
Every once in a while, but not usually.
I'd hate to be editor in chief at that point, man. You just lost everybody. You lost your entire stable. They're taking their business elsewhere, and along with all your business.
Must have been a hard day over it.
I don't know. Was Tom DeFalco still in charge then, or is it a new EIC?
Yep,
Oh man,
was in charge right then. Yep, that was.
I bet he lost some weight for that couple months right there.
Yeah.
I'm sure he had some choice words that day too.
Okay, well, looks like
Shooter would just punched him on the way out the building. Yeah, get out of here, you bums. Yeah.
Nobody would have left if Shooter was still in charge. They'd all be too afraid to fucking tell him.
I know. All right, well, I guess I don't got to do any tabulation unless anyone has any last minute grades.
Clean sweep. There it is. 2s across the board.
Easy peasy.
Okay. So, all right. Well, we're going to get off the art train here and dig into this writing and storytelling. I think I will start the party on this. Now, I almost have to, because just like with the art, there's a big fatal flaw here. This fatal flaw is, I almost have to grade it on a curve, and I almost got to cut a break to it being a what if comic, because as opposed to other comics, which are designed to be a serialized adventure, a what if comic, you got to jam pack the whole kit and caboodle into one issue. You got to introduce the topic. Granted, they have the luxury of it being a what if, so it's just a tweak of an existing story. So you can bring a lot of that story into it, and it does a little bit of the heavy lifting for you of setting things up. But still, you got to tell your story in one issue front to back. And I would have wished to have seen a little bit more of a descent into madness and power hungriness from the Surfer. Because basically, you introduce the story. Here comes what happens if Surfer snagged the glove. And you swoop in, and it seems like he's the Surfer that we know and love, the compassionate I mean, all the guy did during his Volume 1 series was, cry and mope. He's an emotional being, very empathetic guy. So you swoop in, and that's who you think we're dealing with. And it's like, as soon as he puts the glove on, because he comes in, he's like, don't worry, I'm the kind of guy that should wear this glove. Only I can take care of it. And you're like, all right, cool. Puts on the glove, and someone's like, hey, Surfer, why'd you do that? And he's like, silence, you insolent fool. It's like, boom, right there. As soon as he puts the glove on, he's already a mad tyrant. Power hungry is the sense I got. And that was the kind of disappointing part. Like, damn, I thought we were going to like earn this a little bit of have him build up to that. But right from the jump, he becomes pretty authoritarian, and like the power goes to his head instantly, which I thought that was a misstep. It's what I would have expected to happen when you see a book like this. Ain't no one gonna escape. That's what the Infinity Gauntlet represents. It's the cautionary tale of absolute power corrupts absolutely, right? So it's not like you go into it thinking that Surfer is going to be unscathed from that, but I thought they jumped into it a little too quick. But aside from that, I like the beats that they chose, because they could have told the story in a few different ways. I like the popping in on Mephisto. I like that we're following Thanos and Warlock as like our buddy cops, our unlikely pair. And even though this is kind of an art thing, I love that panel of like Surfer's, pretty much in tyrant mode, and you just have Thanos and Warlock looking at each other like, uh-oh. And I thought that kind of illustrates like the dynamic that they wrote for those two, begrudging friends, but also like, we can't allow this guy to continue on this track. And I thought that was cool that you kind of follow Warlock and Thanos. And as far as like resolution of the plot, I thought it was cool. I thought it was a good call to get Shalabal in there. That was a satisfying conclusion to me of, what could possibly make Surfer snap out of it. And of course, you got to get Shalabal in there. It's true love to say, Norin, you're tripping, man. So I'm glad they did that. That's what I would have wanted them to do. Even though him automatically giving him half the power of the Infinity Gauntlet was like, smooth move, X-Flax. That ain't gonna, you just set yourself up for set yourself open there. But again, they have one book to set up the rise, show the folly, resolve it, and do the happy ever after. So you kind of have to fit stuff like that in there. And they give you the happy ending, which I was cool with. I didn't want to see like Twilight Zone thing of like, and by the way, he suffered for all eternity, like a dark ending. It's cool. I'm cool with the happy ending. So yeah, I'm not going to dig too much into dialogue stuff if other guys want to. Just more on how the plot was structured. That's kind of my thoughts on it. Well done. A bit rushed, but for what they were given, I thought they told it pretty well. And I gave it a little more than average, and I hit it with a 3 as well for the story.
Nice.
Boom.
Yep. Nice. 3. 3 is a good score.
Yeah, I think it was appropriate. Dave Miracle, what say you on how they unraveled this story, man?
So, if I remember right, like I said, I haven't read the Infinity Gauntlet #1. One of their plans was the Surfer coming in and snatching that glove, right? And this, what if, like in the Infinity Gauntlet, it doesn't work, right? Thanos keeps the glove. But in this one, it does work. And so that's where our what if scenario splits off, right? I like what if stories. I think it's kind of cool because they're not canon, and it's like, oh, what happens if this character died or this character became someone else and stuff like that. Now, Silver Surfer is Mr. Cosmic Goody Two Shoes, right? He has always been on the side of good. He's sacrificed his own life to save his planet and to save the girl he loves and all this stuff. So having him get the Infinity Gauntlet and then kind of degrade into this, dictator, over omnipresent, being that's going to bring order to the entire universe. How many dictators have we heard say, we're here to bring order to things, right? So they hit the trope, the absolute power corrupts absolutely, of course, and there as a, I think it's like a required line. If you've given any of your characters absolute power, they have to say this line at some point in the comic book. So they hit that line in there, of course. Like Kenny said, bringing in Shambhala, right? This is the girl that she has been Norn Rad's motivation for everything, becoming the cosmic, or, taking the power cosmic, becoming a herald of Galactus. He wasn't even as concerned about the entire planet as he was about saving Shambhala, right? So bringing her in as, this is our plan of action, right? Wouldn't have worked on Thanos, but yeah, I think it's a good plot line to you. How are you going to get that gauntlet away from the Silver Surfer, right? Like, you're going to get all of those characters back and now fight the Silver Surfer, who has the Infinity Gauntlet and the power cosmic, right? Like, he's at this point uber powerful. No, I doubt all the heroes on Earth are going to, mount much of a threat against him. So, like I said, taking Goody Two Shoes and making him this big corrupt dictator was a good play. The plot to get the gauntlet away from him was good. I liked it, right? I liked that they brought Shambhala in. I liked that they brought Doctor Strange into it. I mean, right, because they have a lot of history together as members of the Defenders for a long, long time. They're close. And they throw back to that. Stephen Strange is saying, I know the Surfer. I'm close to him. I know him. I understand him. They don't ever mention the Defenders, which is good, because I hate always being spoon fed. Like, we always got to have everybody just never read a comic book before kind of deal. But comic book readers know that he's talking about back in their days of the Defenders, and which was like the most overpowered team of all time. But so yeah, I liked it. I thought it was good. The happy ending, the Sound of Music ending on the thing is good, right? I didn't want to see Surfer just blink out of existence, be nothing, right? With this girl, they had this huge power. Of course, let's make our own little universe, our own little world, and live happily ever after on our own little planet, right? Good, like it. Story, said, really, I thought, like, a lot of these what if stories can really just steal everything from the original issue and just kind of put a little bit of a twist on it. I think having the Silver Surfer took it in quite a bit of a different direction, right? Like, we've seen what happens when the evil guy, or Thanos, gets his hands on it. Well, what happens when the good guys get their hands on it? Well, same thing, right? This thing is just too powerful, too corrupting, right? Nobody that can have this absolute power isn't influenced into becoming a dictator at one point, right? So all that being said, and rambling on and whatever, I say the story is 4. I like the story. It was definitely my favorite part of this book.
Boom.
Nice.
Solid score from Mr. Miracle.
It's an above average what if. A lot of the what if comics, like I said, they either steal too much from the original issue, or they just kind of get into this weird tangent that's like, why would we even care about this story, right? Like, I find that with a lot of what ifs too. They're like, this is dumb. But this one actually was good. It was like, oh man, this is kind of cool, right? So, and it fed back to other Marvel Universe stuff and the original Infinity War stuff. So,
right. Well said. Gino. Got a fresh new surfer background for us.
I do enjoy the wonders of Norin and the power cosmic that he wields. Okay, once again, the universe has aligned very strangely in that I actually agree completely with the score of my predecessor there, and I want to go into just a couple of the details about it and tell you why I like it so much. Kenny makes a great point, though, about having to wrap up a story quick. It has to be a self-contained, fully explained story in about 26 pages. So that's not always easy to do. So you have to give them props. So if the book seems a little light on some details, well, that's why. But the story is just cool. And it's basically, and kind of like what Dave was saying, too, it just shows you that power is the great equalizer, and it makes two sides of the same coin non-relevant. It just makes everyone a coin. You know what I mean? Norn is essentially one of the best characters in Marvel, right? He sacrificed his entire being and everything to save, Shalabal and Zenla and all that good stuff. And he travels the world, or travels the universe, doing something he hates doing, just because he made a pact and he's trying to save people he loves, right? So he's a good guy. Well, what happens when the epitome of good gets a hold of something that's the epitome of power? Well, absolute good is just as bad as absolute evil, right? In the end, it's all extremes. So, eventually people would be getting snuffed out of existence for eating the wrong kinds of food, that sort of thing. So all that being said, I really found it interesting because this book was like, not only was it like a reimagining of the original Infinity Gauntlet, but like Dave was saying, it didn't just rip it off. It was like, because a lot of different stuff happened in this. So there's the trail of breadcrumbs. I really love the fact that they left Thanos and Warlock around. He kept them around as his advisors. That was cool. I think some of that might have been like to punish Thanos too, to let him see what he's lost. But I just thought that was a great idea. And I like how Norm was going around and basically tidying everything up that had been destroyed from before. Makes total sense. Looks like something he would do, but he started to fall more and more into the sway of the power that he possessed. Just classic stuff. I love the Mephisto showdown. I like how Mephisto was written there too, because it's like he knew he was doomed. As soon as Norn showed up, he was done for. So he didn't cower. He didn't crave. Like, if you remember the original Infinity Gauntlet, he acted craven and cowardly around Thanos on purpose. So he was biding his time until he could try to grab power for himself. In this case, he knew he was doomed, so he's like, the heck with it. I'll blow fire on you, whatever, and go out with a bang of glory. But it was just cool. And Thanos was very, less mad Titan in this one and more like thoughtful antagonist. And he kind of took over the Mephisto role in this book. And I really like the last couple of panels at the end where Thanos picks up the broken Infinity Gauntlet and kind of looks up and he's like, interesting. And it's like, you can tell he's looking up, what's my next challenge now? That one's a goner. One thing I didn't like, though, was the actual ending. I preferred them to wink out of existence. I think it shows a better sacrifice. It had a little more meaning to it, a little more gravity to it, and seeing them walk through the apple orchard was kind of a flame out to me. So, I mean, I can appreciate happy endings next guy, but it does. It takes a sacrifice from one page away, previous to that, kind of completely away. So, really cool story, really cool. This one almost ties in with the concept very closely. But I'm going to give this one a 4 as well. It's really strong. This is what storytelling is all about, especially in a one-shot. This is what if should all be about. Interesting concepts that aren't so completely alien just to be strange. You know what I mean? It's things that loosely tie in with the universe that we already know and just changes things subtly. That's why I love the series so much. So it's a 4. Really strong story. Got a few tiny little niggling thoughts about it. But I mean, other than that, it's really good. 4.
Very nice. Very nice.
Excellent.
Let's round out this round with Rodney.
Yeah, thanks. God, you guys did a great job on this little section, by the way. Just kudos to all three of you. Excellent stuff. Obviously, this is one of my favorite storylines from back in the day. I bought this right off the rack, and I inhaled it. I devoured it. So when this came out, I was skeptical because, sometimes you change just one. This is like the kind of the butterfly effect phenomenon, right? You change just one little variable and it changes the whole dynamic of and conclusion of what follows afterwards. And this did I think a really good job of, I think like Gino said, it has plausibility behind it. Okay, some what ifs are, they bring in these just impossible scenarios or highly unlikely. But yeah, I mean, although I think it was a little too easy, just him flying and grabbing the glove in the original Infinity Gauntlet, maybe 1 out of a million possibilities, Thanos is distracted because, he's Thanos, right? He's arrogant. He likes to play with his food. So it's possible that, that could have happened. So I really like the concept behind the story itself. We get here Silver Surfer, sort of the paragon of humanity, right? Noble to a fault, truthful, altruistic, goes out of his way not to harm anything or anybody. And so what this is almost like, what if, ultimate power came to the best of us, right? And as these other gentlemen explained, it doesn't matter how good you are. If that ultimate power is not meant to be wielded by somebody that is human, because we're flawed in some way, and that flaw will be accentuated with the ability to wield that power, because there's no checks and balances. That's why governments need to have checks and balances, because otherwise we all have everybody would have a dictator as a head, right? But I think there's some great little elements in here. Thanos and Warlock, sort of like the angel and the devil on your shoulder, when the surfer knows that that there's a possibility here that he could go off the rail. So he gets 2 advisors to sort of keep him in check. The problem is that when they disagree with him, that that since he has the power to just ignore them and go his own way, that's what he does. And it's just a great concept on the story. And Kenny, I see where you're coming from, is that the changes seem rather dramatic right at the beginning, but that happens with sometimes when people get into power. Sometimes people get into power and they want to exercise it right away, and it really takes over even the most altruistic and the best intentions. And notice that in his story that he does sort of the opposite of what Thanos does. Instead of destroying life, he actually creates life. He takes care of sicknesses and hunger and all kinds of things that and he makes death a much more easy transition. Again, he had the best of intentions, but unfortunately, the gauntlet, it's sort of like the age-old question, right? Is it the person or the power that corrupts? Maybe both, but here we see that it took an extreme example of knowledge of the character in order to turn him around. So the only thing that could have happened did happen, and that is Shala Bal, the love of his life, who he sacrificed his love so that his planet could live and that she could live. And so she's the X factor. She was the only the only kind of wrench in the machine that could turn him around. Because unlike Thanos, whose arrogance and overconfidence could be taken advantage of, Strange knew that the surfer he knew him well. He even says so. He says that won't work. He's going to be on his guard because he knows all our tactics. So that was the right call, for sure. And that was the only way they could ever get him back. And once he went down there to take care of Mephisto, again, that's now a proactive use of his power and destroyed him. You can tell that Thanos and Warlock looked at each other and say, this ain't going to work, and so they had to use that kind of tactic. I agree with Genome, though. I think that the fairy tale ending was really, considering the high level of damage and back and forth that he went through, almost destroying the one who he loved. I think that required a higher sacrifice than just the cop out of nobody else knows, but we're on a little planet there. But honestly, I found the story very intriguing as a sort of divergence from the original Infinity Gauntlet. It really had me intrigued and really had me interested and drawn, and really it just I just wanted. I read this 2 times because I thought it was really that good. The ending really took me, really just destroyed it to a good degree for me. And just all this sacrifice and all this planning just to sort of get away with it, just didn't ring right to me. So I gave it a 3.5, though. I think that the concept of the story is off the charts good.
Nice.
Well said. Boom, Genome hitting us with a page from the book. Nice.
Yo.
That's the first time I think you've pulled that move. Oh, look there. There he is. The almighty Genome.
Hey,
He's drunk with power. Look at him.
show the dope.
Wielder of the power green screen. Yes. But yeah, good stuff, man. You know, it's funny. There was a line in here, and I wonder if they got Infinity War, the actual MCU Infinity War, like Thanos here from this. I think I don't know where it is, but basically it's where Silver Surfer stops all the death that's going on, or all the disasters and all the bad things, basically. And Thanos says, "Will the universe not become crowded with this peace?" And
Cool line.
so I wonder too if that's where they were building on in the movie a little bit too, because now he's obsessed with balance for whatever reason, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really like that. It's like, it doesn't matter what your intentions are. You can have the best intentions. They're still going to be corrupt. You know what I mean? It's still not going to.
You know, I love.
Even if your intentions are good, you can't enforce your will on the universe and have things come out good. You know.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think you guys are right. Where even though he did get pretty prickly, like right off the bat, in comparison to Thanos, you're right. His first steps, he did put some good intention deeds in first, right?
Yeah.
So
I liked. You know what I really liked about the book, though, was I really like Thanos in this book because he stayed the same the entire time. He was not intimidated by this in the slightest by Norrin with the glove. He's like, he just kept actually taunting him a little bit and saying how wrong he was at everything. He's like, I'll take that glove back now. I'll take it back now.
Yeah.
I love that about him.
I like the scene where he literally holds out his hand and asks for it back. I was like, as if you're just going to hand it over, right?
Yeah, he stayed in character. He tried everything he could. He tried everything he could to, hey, listen, this is not meant for you. You don't have the will for it. You're just not made for this.
Yeah.
It didn't work.
No. Surfer was having none of it.
None of it.
Yeah, him and Warlock as like a pair throughout the book was pretty cool.
Yeah. I didn't like that, like, all of a sudden Warlock was like, yeah, now we're cool, Thanos. We're just hang out. Like, he was just like hanging out with Thanos. Okay, now we have the same goal in mind, so everything's forgiven. I know you destroyed half the
he was
universe.
part of the Infinity Watch eventually, so Warlock did have some kind of respect for him.
In fact, didn't he leave one of the stones with him eventually?
Yeah. He was the mysterious one because he didn't want anybody to get all 6 stones, so he didn't tell who got, because Gamora got one, Pip got one, Moondragon, and I think
Moon Cleavage. Yes, I know.
And Drax got one.
You know what I love about and it just, I guess, tip of the hat of how you gotta just cram in everything into a one what if issue is when Thanos and Warlock arrive to Doctor Strange. Like, you expect him to show up and like bring him up to speed, and like one of the first things Doctor Strange says is, "I am aware of all that has transpired. Your arrival is opportune." It's like, I know everything. Let's get to a plan. Like, there was no bringing him up to speed. That was pretty good.
Jeff, we're going over what if number 49. What if the Silver Surfer had nabbed the Infinity Gauntlet?
Well, it looks like 3.5 is going to be the average because we only got 2 grades.
Mm-hmm. Last chance. Put your grades in there. Just fun story. That's like I said. That's what If's all about.
Yeah, entertaining for sure. Yeah.
Not if what if Captain America had 6 eyes? You know, I don't care about stuff like that.
Exactly.
In fact, who did write that? Let me look. Who was that?
What if the Fantastic Four was the original Marvel bullpen? Is my favorite.
Yeah. What is that?
Like, what are the possibilities of that happening?
Yeah. What a self-indulgent book that is.
Jack Kirby as the Thing. Stan Lee as Mr. Fantastic. Was it Roz Kirby as Invincible?
Should have been Vince Coletta, the Invisible Man. That's the way he made all the other backgrounds disappear.
Yeah, some of the what if stories weren't that great. Like,
No.
what if Captain America became president? What
Yeah,
if?
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
Well, that was a possibility though. That Cap 250, they
Yeah,
did
but
want
I
him
mean-
to run for president.
Imagine trying to make a collar for him. That must be really hard for the tailor. Yeah,
Yeah.
Ron Mars wrote this. Okay. So,
Okay, we got another grade in there, Gino.
Uh-oh. That's going to change things. It looks like it's going to make it a 4 now.
Nice.
Yeah.
More in keeping with the proper grade.
That's right.
Oh, Bill says that he's got now, he's got cosmic awareness. He knows what went on in here.
He has cosmic awareness every time I go online for a stream because he's in there within minutes. And I don't trust the notification systems in YouTube, so
No.
he knows. He is the one who knows, the one who watches,
Here.
the one with the
He
restraining
must be
orders.
Scrolling through all these channels at the same time, just
Just waiting for the red, baby.
yeah. Oh, there's a live here.
No, I liked every character in this story. The cool part, it didn't even focus on like none of the Avengers, none of the Earthbound heroes, whatever, really, other than Doctor Strange. That was cool too. It didn't get mired down and trying to reduce the character or the reader to all these characters again. We know who these people are. That was cool.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, it was again, because it is a one, like Kenny said, because it's all crammed into one issue.
Yeah.
You can't have these expansive, teams and so forth.
And it's such a huge story.
Unless you're really losing the dialogue.
Yeah, it's a big story to try to tell. So, all right. So, what did we land on? 3.5.
4 actually.
4.
Let's see.
Yeah.
4.
D-Run put in with a 4, so
Yeah, we had 3,
So
4. All right.
the right side of the screen here looks like they got it.
You got it. All right. I was, maybe I graded it a little harsh, but I got to compare it to all stories. I'm not going to give it the what if curve, brother.
That's your prerogative, my friend.
That's right. All right, now we're going on to concept, where what ifs tends to shine here, and let's just cut right to that with our friend from the great White North, Mr. Miracle.
Well, the concept of the book is, it's good. Like I said, they took a scene from the original Infinity Gauntlet and they used that scene to create a whole other story, a whole other storyline. It's a bit, pandering to the fans when you have what happens if Silver Surfer has the Infinity Gauntlet. But comic books are meant to pander to fans, right? So I'm not going to give it any, backlash for that, because that's exactly what they want to do. They want to sell comic books. It really is like the concept of this book. I liked it. I liked the concept, but I didn't think it was like the be all end all of all concepts. Like somebody else grabbing the Infinity Gauntlet. We've seen previous what if issues, like what if this person had become this person, or what if this person had become that, or had gotten this object. It's better than average concept for a what if story, I think. Mostly because it does kind of just split that whole storyline right at that point where the Silver Surfer does or doesn't grab that Infinity Gauntlet from Thanos. The floppy Thanos, or the floppy Infinity Gauntlets bug me a little bit, but so the concept was actually the one that I gave it the lowest score for, and I gave it a 2. Right? I thought it was a little bit too much Infinity Gauntlet, right? Like a lot of what if stories go completely the other way. This one kind of took a story and split it up a bit, so it wasn't exactly their whole full story themselves. Like this was, a Starland story to begin with. And I thought it was okay as a concept. This is one of the rare comic books where I think the story is better than the concept. And that usually doesn't happen. Usually it's very much the concept is better than the story when we're finding, these different books and stuff. But in this case, I thought, there could be a lot of other what ifs that could go on besides this one. Kind of cool. I don't understand why it's such a big seller. it's good to read. It was fun. The concept of the book, yeah, I give it a 2.
All right. A dose.
Mm.
All right. Let's see what says Genome about that.
All I have to say about it is you're wrong. Be next grader, please. No, I do disagree with Dave a little bit here, but I definitely see his point. You know, you could basically make this story, you could just about put anybody else in this story and it worked just about the same, you know, just different cast of characters. But I do like it. It's, you know, the turning point, the fulcrum of the problem. You know, what does Silver Surfer do with the glove? And he puts that damn thing on in a hurry. I kind of dig it. My one problem with the story was it wasn't long enough. I'd like to see a little more of him undoing the damage that Thanos had done, and then one it being like a monkey paw situation, you know, where he's just causing just as much bad to happen as he thinks he's trying to help. But I love the concept of this book, and I just love the concept of what if periods that kind of, you know, taints my score a little bit. But I think it's like I give it a 4.5. I really liked it. I mean, I liked everything about the story except for the very end of it. I didn't like the flame out ending, but other than that, it was great. The characters kept pretty much in character the entire time. There was no weirdness for weirdness sake. You got to see two sides of the same coin in a way, but you have the villain kind of narrating, you know, exactly what the good guy is doing wrong, which was really cool. And Thanos is, you know, sidekickery right there. He was suitably arrogant, even without the glove. It was great. He had a nice close, Thanos did. Like, oh, I'm going to go. I have another power grab to go for now or whatever, now that the Infinity Gauntlet's gone. So in a way, he was almost glad it was destroyed, right? Adam Warlock was pretty cool. He's a little bit too neutral, kind of irked me a little bit, but he didn't seem to have much desire to actually get the glove away from him too bad, other than keep asking him to give it up. But I love it. It's just such a cool idea, and it's fun to see too that they didn't try to make everything perfect under Silver Surfer too, because you know how comics are with the good guys, right? So yeah, it told a good story, had a great concept, I think, and it kept the characters where they needed to be effective. Just failed just a tiny bit on the exit strategy. So yeah, I'm gonna give it a 4.5. I absolutely love the concept of this book, and this is what one shots are all about, especially in What If. So 4.5.
Oh, very high marks. Very different from his predecessor.
Bit much. I mean, are you confusing the concept with the story here?
Well, I did say when I graded the story that these two are really tightly intertwined. Usually that's not quite so tightly intertwined. In this one, it's hard to separate the two. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
I won't tell you you're wrong. I mean, well, but...
Good one, Bill. That was a good one. Oh, am I next?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I see Genome's conundrum here because you're essentially grading two concepts: the concept of what if, and using this particular storyline, and then the execution of the storyline and what that was being used as far as marketing, as far as how that affects the greater, Marvel universe, shall we say. And so it's very tough to come up with a concept here because you have to sort of juggle various different paradigms, right? But to me, I think this is a really well done concept, and for two reasons. One is that they didn't reinvent the wheel here. You know, sometimes as we discussing before, sometimes you take these what if concepts and they just go right off the rails. You know, this is another, reality that's true, but it is a possibility. It is a plausibility versus something which is just so bizarre and out of left field. And you just take that kind of restraint, I think it makes this concept work. Because like Genome said, you still have Thanos in here in character. He's still kind of trying to plot, trying to see where he can sort of dig in and get back that power. So he doesn't want to, get too, critical, but he's still Thanos. He's still plotting. He's still thinking, maybe there's some example, some area here where I can get in there. In fact, you know, when he gets at the end, he finds the glove and he's like so close, you know. So I think that was brilliant how they made things so close to the original, but yet very interesting, because, you know, like Groundhog Day, it was the same thing over and over and over, except that they changed little elements here and there that you were just you know, you're just focused on what the next day would be, because he grew in that movie. He grew, and in here you can sort of see how the surfer is just struggling, you know, with taking on this great weight. And he even says, you know, I took it on myself because, you know, this is my duty. But that duty became at some point too onerous because for him or anybody. So that's the one part of the concept. And then you have the concept here of, you know, when you integrate it with a what if, with the actual type of story that it is, that, you know, that you take something, you know, that never happened, but you have to still, you know, follow through with a plausible story that's interesting. And it is very interesting. It is very engrossing. I every panel I wanted to see what the next panel was. So yeah, I see where Genome is, where it's integrated with the story here. But to me, you take a brilliant concept already with the Infinity Gauntlet, but you had a tyrant that you know, had unlimited ability to affect reality, and now you have the opposite side of the coin. You have the noblest of us all, but with that same power, and regardless of who had it, you had the same ultimate result coming. Brilliant concept to me. The only part I didn't like is that, like Genome said, they kind of had a cop-outs here and there that I wish they would have gone whole hog and say, you know, for you know, if absolute power corrupts absolutely, the only way for it not to corrupt, for it not to exist, including the wielder of that power, that would have been, to me, a 5 on the concept. But that really, they copped that out, and it just weakened it to a degree, which to me it became, you know, too generic at that point, too vanilla. But still, the concept up to that point was brilliant. I gave it a 4.
Quattro.
Yeah.
Roger. Okay. Let's see. So, concept, because like these guys were saying, there's kind of like the two aspects of this to consider, it being a what if, just in general, and then the story that they chose to tell. I'm not going to give any real points consideration to the fact that it's a what if story, because this is already like 50 issues into volume 2, you know. So when I was grading what if #1, the very first one, I was grading it on just the idea of doing what if comics, and that was, I think I gave it like a 5, because love it, fantastic. But the creative team of this book is not going to get any points for the fact that it's a what if comic. They're just carrying the tale. So concept-wise, how well did this team come up with a concept to fit into the established what if? So that's my premise here. Now, I also disagree with Miracle that I don't think that the story is better than the concept, my opinion. I think what makes like a good what if comic, they did that, because what makes like a great concept for a what if is a simple question that grabs you, and like you start to paint the picture in your mind of like, ooh, what if that did happen? And what if Silver Surfer possessed Infinity Gauntlet is such a fire question to me. I love that question, and I'm all intrigued by the concept of that question. So that's great. I think it's, I like the fact that it's like not just a out the blue what if, like a fundamental change. What if? But it is like a timeline split in the story. Like it's the same right up until that moment when originally Surfer swooped in for the glove, and then you create a time split there. I think that's cool to just cause a shift in the storyline of Infinity Gauntlet. So that was great. One thing that I don't know, I think is so cool and fun about the original Infinity Gauntlet is you have super OP Thanos with this glove that like makes someone basically unstoppable, and it does prompt like this huge battle. Like everyone in the universe has to get together to how do you stop this unstoppable force? And that's what I think is interesting about the Infinity Gauntlet and what makes it so epic. This felt a lot less epic. Like I understand maybe logistic wise, it would have been tough to cram a bunch of heroes in here and they didn't have time to do a big battle. But in this whole book, there isn't one physical skirmish, dude. No one comes at Surfer. And granted, again, we're not dealing in logic. Logically, I wouldn't step to Surfer either. And none of them have a chance and all that. We know that. And maybe they didn't have the time to assemble a bunch of characters and do a battle, but that's their problem, not mine. I'm the reader. I want to see, I would have liked to at least seen a couple pages of all kind of Marvel heroes. You don't have to, that's the thing. It's Infinity Gauntlet story. So they don't have to explain how Spider-Man and Thor and this one showed up. Just cut right to it. Just make them all show up and have them, what I needed out of this book concept, and I'm going to put it at the concept feet. What I needed from this book was 3 or 4 pages of every Marvel character coming at Surfer with the gauntlet and them trying different ways to get at him, and Surfer, blasting this one, banging that one, knocking out the Fantastic Four, smashing the Avengers.
Testify.
That's what I was hoping I was going to get, man.
Preach on.
Instead, it's like, again, I like the buddy cop thing of Thanos and, Warlock, but they went straight to the Shalabal nullifier, which I think is an appropriate ending. That's probably how you would have to resolve this situation. But they cut right to it and robbed me of what makes comic books so fun, and it's epic superhero battles, brother. I'm a lunch pail comic book reader, man. Give me what I want. So I think the concept, I was expecting something more epic and fun than I was delivered in the story. So I gave the story a 3 because I still think it was well done, but again, I was missing that piece. And concept-wise, when they laid it out, that should have been part of the blueprint. But again, high marks because when it comes down to it, they posed an awesome question, and that's what I'm gonna really give this book props for. So let's see. I wrote 4, but now the way I just beat it up, I'm almost thinking of rounding down.
I know, man. Freaking the book has to go find a shelter now.
I'm all fired up. I'm going to round down to 3.5. Yeah, I love the book, but I'm going to round down to 3.5 for the concept.
I can see this book like hanging out at the bus station, now, trying to get out of town.
I like the way that Kenny convinces himself that his grade is wrong.
Yeah,
like you're not a jewel cutter.
He does his own. He does his own defense and prosecution. That's great stuff, Kenny. Great stuff.
Thanks, man. There's a lot of variation. There's really high marks, 4.5 from Genome. Just a little less so from Roger, me, and right down to a 2 from Mr. Miracle. So I'll be interested to see where the chat falls as I pose the question. Great.
I just thought the concept was a bit ripped off. It wasn't that original.
It's a what if.
I get it.
Kind of have to be right.
Listen, what Kenny was talking about, he wants Secret Wars 2. Where 2 issues, like you had the West Coast Avengers and the X-Men. Just, there was a big mountain and the guy's just swatting them down.
Yeah.
That's not what this is. This is a thinking man's comic here. Strange is like, listen, I know this guy. We attack him. He's just going to put us all in a big globe and shun us over. We got to attack him where he lives and his heart. That's his weakness, his heart.
Yeah. Well, that is Morrad's weakness.
I don't think the whole book shouldn't have been that, a drag out battle, but like a 2-page montage, of we step, and then we resorted to Shalabal,
Right.
Well, but in the story's like defense, a little bit, we don't know how much time has passed. Maybe they didn't have time. He sent everyone back to Earth, so they didn't really have time to gather or anything. So maybe there's that. And plus, they have the hindsight now to go back to. Is like, why bother assaulting this guy? We knew what happened last time and didn't do anything. So I don't know. Because he knows the cosmic beings didn't get involved at all. They knew better this time.
I don't appreciate all this logic. All right.
you want
he's leading the witness.
Baby.
Yes.
Come at me, baby. Come at me.
Dude, I'm gonna watch that in replay to watch you change there at the end because he started smiling like that last minute, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He knew something was happening.
He convinces himself. Yeah.
A storm cloud was rising. Yeah.
Great. Man. That was. You're right. I'm gonna rewatch this too because I mean his face, like he was like, "Oh heck, man! What I just lambasted this thing."
Yeah, but
realization. Yeah, there was a fight in there though. It lasted about a page.
Yeah, I saw a lot of internal turmoil. Just
fight.
like the surfer, he was just channeling the surfer and his consternation with that power.
There it is, man. I don't know. Fun stuff.
Yeah.
Either 2 or 4.5. It was still a fun book, I'd say. I'd say we all pretty much agree on that, right? That we kind of enjoyed the story at the very least.
Yeah, you gotta love the comic. Like it's a great comic.
Yeah. So
it would be fun. Yeah.
We got a 3, a 3.5, and a 3.
They could do a whole what if series just on what if this character has the Infinity Gauntlet? You could do a whole run like that.
The gauntlet, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Puck. I want to see Puck have the gauntlet. Would he get taller? I don't know. But
would he get tall? Definitely. Yeah, because he's controlling a demon or something, so that would exercise him.
That's a lot of extra gravity.
Yeah, I mean they had there was like have we done an assistant editors month comic? I don't think so. Like they had a month where the assistant editor took over and they just had these bizarre, what if Aunt May was a Herald of Galactus and
I think it's Cap 289 did that or 286. One of those. It's the one I have actually signed by John. It's even got the assistant editors on the cover, like looking out the window of Marvel Studios.
Right. They had all kinds of wacky things like that. Maybe we should do one of those just for laughs because
we should do that Gold Moldy one because
Marvel team up something or other. I forgot. And
when you see Aunt May scold Galactus,
wag that finger, and it's like you're not getting any pie if you keep this up.
All right, I think the chat lands on a 3 here, right?
Yeah, looks like.
All right. Well, we'll let the chat hold that 3 there.
Yeah, that's a 3.
All right, and let's see. Now we're gonna do.
I can do overall. I can do their math real quick for overall. Let's see what the chats was real fast. 3.5 plus.
Yeah, let me do my math here.
2 plus.
Hey, why don't we do, since we started a little late tonight, why don't we just kind of do lightning round style on the overall synopsis? I'll keep us in this format right here. And we'll start with Mr. Gino.
All right, lightning round it is. So for cover, I gave this a 3.5. Liked it, didn't love it, but there was enough good things about it, technically speaking, that I did find it pleasurable, and it does catch the eye. For the interior art, I went at 2.5. It's my least favorite part of the book. It's very workmanlike. Some good anatomy to be found, but not a whole lot of other really positive things to say about it. So more good than bad, but just serviceable. 2.5. For story, I gave it a 4. Just thought it was a really cool idea and a really quickly tied up story that made a lot of sense and kept the characters where they should be, I think, in that particular realm. So gave it a 4, really strong, I thought. And I gave the concept a 4.5. I love the concept. once again, it could be abused so easily. It could be made mockery of, but they kind of handled it in a serious way as opposed to like flippant. So yeah, I gave that a 4.5. And my overall score with math is 3.5. I'm on the fence whether I'll put this as a 4 or a 3.5 because I really enjoyed the book. That's kind of subjective. I guess I'll leave it at math, 3.5. There's some, because I can't ignore all the art issues. But as far as story and all that, I really enjoyed the book quite a bit. So 3.5 and really close to a 4.
Excellent.
Well said. Mr. Rowe?
I'm next?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. Yeah, getting old, the hearing's going, I guess. Yeah, I'm not going to delve into it. Cover 3.5. Well done cover. I mean, George Perez-esque. Story I thought was, again, really interesting. Some issues here and there. The ending kind of disappointing, but man, up to that point, I was really enthralled. Art was a little bit weak for the many myriad reasons we're talked about here. Concept I thought was really, really well done. Just one of those concepts which, had thought behind it and it just worked, right? It took a good, an already great premise, changed just a variable and came up with a very good one. So overall, the math works. And to me, this is what I would give it anyway. Same as Dino, 3.5, much better than average, very close to a 4. If it wasn't for that ending, which really, just was disappointing. I mean, you need to see perspective here. And when it's an event of this level, there has to be a pound of flesh given. And this was kind of a cop-out. So 3.5.
Good point. Yeah, that ending part didn't irk me on my first couple read-throughs, but the more you make that point, you're right. Them going down is so much more appropriate for that story. Well said. Overall, cover's fantastic. Cover's really good. Nice homage. There's some layout issues, but that's no surprise from this guy because that was his major pain point on the inside. Boring layouts, uninspired. Seems like a sketchbook hero who can really nail it on. If you go through a sketchbook, you're like, wow, you really kill it on anatomy. You draw great poses. But once you tell them to lay out a story, the wheels kind of fall off. So that marked down the art a little bit. Story. The story was good. I was interested the whole way through. Landed on a 3 for it. I would have liked to seen a couple different choices there, but I was entertained. Concept landed on that 3.5. I think numbers-wise, I come to like a 3, but as a whole, as the sum of its parts, great book, overall great concept. The art did the trick. It was every category was definitely more good than bad. So 3.5 on What If 49. I'm with you guys.
Wow, nice.
All right. Well, for me, this was an above average What If comic. Besides the glaring concept, I mean, the ending, the fabulous ending, they put in there having him go off. No, I'm just teasing Meteorog a little bit. Yeah, I thought it was enjoyable. I enjoyed reading it. Would I recommend it to somebody else? Definitely. Like I kind of got the idea now why my LCS was able to sell 50 copies of this thing. That's what the owner was telling me, right? So overall, I would recommend it, and overall, I give it a 3.5.
Clean sweep.
Clean sweep overall.
What did I hear? Wow. A 4-way agreement?
I know this might be a historic first. I don't know if we've ever got that before. I have to go look through the records, the archives, but
it's funny because along the way there was so much disparity, but we all got to the same place in the end.
Talk about all roads lead to Rome. Wow.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
The Omaha. All right.
The chat give it.
I was just thinking too. You know what the perfect ending to this
Yeah, the
book?
chat doesn't do the overall.
Well, I gave it to him anyway. It was a 3. It was very close. I did their numbers, but you know what the perfect ending of this book would have been instead of destroying themselves or winding up on that planet, he should have said, all right, I'm going to make Zenla invisible to Galactus and go back in time. So he never would have met the planet and been no Silver Surfer and all that. It'd been awesome little retcon there. Ooh.
That's
Then
interesting.
he could have lived his whole life with her, right?
That's interesting.
Jim Shooter, if you're going to start a new company,
Wow, the quantum leap ending. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now the very exciting part of the end of the show, where we're going to look at next episode. We'll look into the future to the next edition, and the next man at the helm is going to put forth two choices for you guys in the chat to weigh in on. You dictate the future of this show. Mr. Roger Metarog is going to show us the two books that you guys have to choose from.
Okay. So, well, not a fortnight because it'll be back on Thursday schedule, but this is the last episode for this year. But the first episode of next year, we're asking you to choose from these two comics. Now, I sent out 3 comics, and these gentlemen pared it down to 2. Okay. So you have your choice of either Luke Cage Hero for Hire #1. Very, very interesting. One of the very first black superheroes, African-American superheroes with his own title. One of my favorite series. I own all 125 issues, plus the annual, I think is the annual. Yeah. So that's one possibility. I believe this is from 1972. And the next is a very different genre and a very different publisher and a very different in every other fashion. Doomsday +1 #1 from Charlton from 1975. John Byrne early art in here. It is about it's a team that goes up into space, and there is a disaster on Earth, and when they come back, the landscape of Earth has changed drastically. So again, a very not very known, obscure comics, which is the way I roll, as you know. So let you know what you want to know for these 3 other gentlemen to grade in 16 days hence. Luke Cage Hero for Hire #1 or Doomsday +1 #1.
Right, there you have.
Choose now or forever hold your peace.
Choose your destiny, or choose our destiny.
Choose our destiny. That's right.
See, if I was Thanos right now, I'd say, Roger, why don't you just hand me those books so I don't have to purchase them again?
Yeah, and this is one of those moments where these slabs come back to bite you in the butt, because I have Luke Cage #1.
Now you can't read it, can you?
It's encased in plastic, brother. I can't open it up.
You could open it up, but then it
yeah, be a mensch. Come on.
What do you think for an explosive first show of 2021? Kenny cracks open a slab live on the show and grades it.
Dude, I take a hammer to that thing.
What,
Do it
what
right.
Is the grade, what is the grade of your copy?
It's a 6.5. So it's not like it's a near min.
Yeah, but still, that's a pretty good grade. That's a tough cover with that black and that red. Yeah, that's a tough
It's
cover.
almost 50 years old.
Is it that old?
Yep. 1972.
Well, it looks like Luke
Makes
is
you
winning
think, huh?
here, guys. Luke.
Yeah, 48 years old.
Yeah.
Good deal.
Okay, I did not pick this one up off the rack, guys. I got it much later on.
No.
Or-
He spent all his pocket money on Detective Comics 1 at that point. So,
Don't
off
I
the
wish.
rack.
All right. So there is a True Believers, I think, of this one, guys. So
I hope so.
you don't have to dish out the, I don't know, $50 or whatever it would be for this thing. So, Kenny already has it. All he needs is a little courage. And he's got his reading copy.
A little courage and a few hand tools.
And Mr. Miracle probably has it somewhere in his storage, room. And, Genome, you better click that thing tonight.
I'll be on eBay.
To get it home.
Don't have Luke Cage. Not a fan, really.
Oh, you don't have it? Okay. Well, that's one of the rare ones he doesn't have.
Cool. All right, let's go around and say our goodbyes. And you can clue us in into what's happenings of your channel. So, Mr. Miracle, I feel like we haven't. I feel like we're due for an undervalued pick video.
We are due, and I have one on deck, and it will be out before Christmas. I promise.
Oh, yeah.
Sometime this week, I'm going to get on it.
Nice.
I also did this today, Silver Surfer. It's not super great, but
Was that inspired by this comic?
yeah, I just drew it while we were sitting here, bud.
Look at the chest striations there and the lack of nipples. It's perfect. It's a suggestion of nipples, but no actual nipples are present.
So yeah, I'll be definitely putting out a undervalued video here right away.
Good.
And I think I got a good ones, a couple of really good books that we can pick up on.
Is it more Star Wars?
There's more Star Wars. There's always more Star Wars.
Always more Star Wars.
Great.
I hear those things are getting pretty hard to find out in the wild now.
Mr. Gino, what's next on your prolific and prolific and I was gonna say varietous.
Right. I like it.
That should be a word though.
Worthy of Merriam-Webster.
Full of variety. It's varietous.
Varietous. Yeah, I like it. It is the varietous is the spiciness of life. So, channel is just kind of, on its own sweet keel of randomness right now. It's kind of hunkered back down into a more placid routine. Gonna have more TV theme song reviews coming up here in the near future. I'm probably gonna do like one a week. I am tempted to just knock them all out because I love doing it, but I'm gonna try to space it out a little bit and make people wait. That's what it's all about. And we started my comic book cover of the week. I need to get back into that. Ebbs and flows. It's like biorhythmic peaks and valleys. You never know what's going to hit you one day or the next. Got some movie reviews I got to do. I got to do some more of the Kurosawa films. I want to get Yojimbo done and Sanjuro. So that'll come, but those take so long to do. It's not something I can just really do overnight. Working on my gaming channel still a little bit, so still building that up. And so just more. That's all it is. Come on by, and I do a live stream game every now and then. Just when I don't feel like doing videos, I just get on and do that and let chat and let Bill and Jackson fight it out in the chat. So, yep,
cool.
That's what it is.
And as we move on to Roger, the proprietor of the contest rundown.
Right. Just one more video this year for me because my wife is going to be off and my daughter's coming to visit, so I'm going to be kind of busy. But tomorrow I'm going to do the last contest roundup of the year, but it's really only one new contest, so I'm going to just go through it quickly. And then I have a package that I got from Collecting Chaos, which completes my Atlas Seaboard collection. He and I came up with a little deal. So I'm going to open that up during the contest roundup. Don't miss it because these Atlas Seaboard comics are just fun comics to see. And that's it for the year until the new year. And then I will see you all back. Contest roundup, Tuesday videos, Grader'S notes, Monday night, no fastest chat. You'll see me all over the place. Or at least my hands.
All right. Love it. Right here on this very channel, there's a Miracle Drop. All right, we'll keep an eye out for him.
I'm done. I'm out.
Yeah.
That's what he said.
And right here, I imagine I'm going to, because I got a box from the one and only Bake the Snake.
Yo, Tommy.
I'm liable to open that bad boy live with you guys. So don't be surprised if that goes down tomorrow. And I have a video that's going to come soon. Like, I would like to try to continue this. I haven't given it like a name or anything, but my She-Hulk, where is it? I think I put it in the other box, but kind of similar to that Brian Boland special cover issue of She-Hulk that I had. Kind of an odd book that has a little bit of a story to it. I kind of like that idea of sharing a book that kind of has a little story behind it. And I have another one in mind that I think is an interesting book that has an interesting bit of, comic book creator backdoor plot lines behind it that could be fun. So that should come soon. And yeah, I'm not sure about the fate or schedule of the Mega Power Hour this week, with it falling on Christmas Day. So probably unlikely, but you never know what the Mega Powers might just bust out on you, man.
Well, good. You won't steal my audience. I'll be on Friday night for Friday Night Hangouts. So
there you go.
Wow.
So yeah, man, stay tuned. Let's pop in Miracle as we say goodbye. Thanks everyone for hanging out.
Yeah. Merry Christmas, everyone. Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas to everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas,
Be
guys.
safe out there. Be well out there. Be happy.
That's right.
This is
Kind of, at least for a while here. At least let's let the season, sort of permeate our behavior for a while.
Yeah.
That's right. Thank you for tuning in to Grader's Notes. We will see you next time.
Bye, everybody.